What's up guys, I'm Uriel Soto. Now this is going to be a fairly quick video. I just wanted to show you guys how you can create these types of buttons. I saw on the Elementor community that someone was asking how to create this type of effect on a button, and I just wanted to go over it, and it's pretty simple. It's just adding some CSS. So let's go ahead and just begin. So I'm going to go ahead and just create another section under this one. I'm going to add some quick spacing here. There we go. And then go ahead and grab a button and go to advanced and go into positioning and set it to inline. It just makes it easier. I can show you guys a way around this, but this is the easiest way to do it. And then set it to the middle. Set it to the center if you want. I mean, depends where you want your button, but there we have a simple button there. Now I'm just going to add some stylizing to this button. I'm going to make the button black, and let's just call it book a call. That's fine. And I'm just going to make this button a little bit bigger. I forgot the width of this button actually. I think it's 20 and 50. There we go. So we're going to set the border radius to 0. And from the bottom, it is going to be 20. And from each side, it will be 50. There we go. So now we have that exact button right there. Now we just need to add some simple CSS. So go into advanced, go into custom CSS. If you're not using the pro version, then I'll show you a different alternative. You're just going to add the CSS to your customizer. But for right now, we're going to target the selector. And then we're going to target the Elementor button. Elementor-button. Now I will have the CSS down in the description in case you don't want to write it out, but I just want to start to do this a little more where I actually write out the CSS, just so then you guys can get a good understanding of the CSS that goes behind this. So right after that, add your curly brackets, and then you know what? Right after the .elementor button, we're going to do a pseudo element, and we're going to do before. That's always very important. So pseudo elements are usually just adding 2 colons and then before or after, and you kind of see what I mean here. So now that's going to allow us to just add another layer either before or after it, and we want this one to be just before. Very important whenever you're setting up a pseudo element, you need to go ahead and add content. So content, and then add some quotations there, some single quotes, and then there you have it. Just make sure that you add right after content, you add a colon in there, and there we go. So it's content, colon, and then some single quotes. All right, and then from here, we're going to go ahead and add our positioning. This part's super important. Make sure you always set it to absolute. And then we're going to go ahead and add our background. And we're going to set that to red. Right now, we can't see that because we still got to set up the width and height and also the positioning. So go ahead and set up the width. The width is going to be 100%. And then we're going to do height of 100% as well. And there we go. Now we have that box there, but as you can tell, it is over it. So first of all, we need to go ahead and put it right exactly where our box is, so everything aligns properly. So from the top, we want to have this set up to 0, and then from the left, have this also set to 0. And then we want this behind this, so we're gonna set up a z-index, and we're gonna do -1. There we go. Now it's behind it. Obviously, we can't see it for now. But what we need to do is from the top and the left, we need to just add a negative and bring it down. So from the top, we're going to do -10 pixels. Or sorry, let's actually do not negative. Let's just do regular. So 10 pixels. And then from the left, we're going to do 10 pixels as well. There we go. But I want to go ahead and let's do 8 on both sides instead. So 8 from the top, 8 pixels from the top, and 8 pixels from the bottom. Now the reason why I was mentioning that you probably should have this set up to inline instead, because if we go into positioning and we set it to default, you notice that it will default to the entire width. So that's why it is good to just set it to inline. Now if you do have multiple buttons and they're all going to have different sizes, you might have to set up the CSS individually if you're not going to be using the inline. But if you are going to be using the inline, it doesn't really matter the width of your button. As you can tell, I can set this up to 100 and it will still work the same way. But if you're not using inline, and you have it set to the other way and you want to set up a custom width, let me go and show that here. If it's to default, you would actually have to adjust your width. So we'd have to adjust the width to the exact sizing of the button, and I think it's about, let's see, 100 pixels. No, so it's definitely not 100 pixels, but we can just make a guess. 50 here, 80, there we go. So we can just set that up to whatever we need to. So maybe 50, sorry, 70, 75. So whatever that may be, whatever that size that may be, that's how you could go about doing it. But like I said, I would rather have 100% just so then it works with every button and it doesn't matter the sizing of that. So we can go back to position here and set this to inline, and that's perfect. Okay, and now we can just center it with our column flex box using horizontal alignment. So now from here, now obviously it's not looking the same. Now what we need to do is we just need to go ahead and change our background here. Currently we have it set to red, and I just did that just so then we can see it. So if I go into a simple generator, so if I go into gradient generator, so if I go into this one here, and the cool part is that you can just click on this one. I mean, it might already have it anyway. I'm going to have it in the CSS. You can just grab this. So you can just go into any CSS gradient generator, and then just grab the gradient here, CSS. I mean, you can even grab the entire thing and paste this in, but I mean, we only need this part because I already have the background style already set on there. So then on here, we just need to paste this right in between this, and there we have it. So now that's all set. Now, if we wanted to set up some sort of hover effect to this, it actually is very simple. I did want to go over that just in case you wanted to go about doing that. So what would you do is set up your selector, add a hover, and then just grab this here. I'm not gonna redo it here. I'm just gonna paste it in. And then what we can do is make sure you always grab your content, because that's always important. And then in between here, we're gonna add a filter. And then we're gonna go ahead and do a blur of about 8 pixels. So let's do a blur here and just do about 8 pixels. And let's go ahead and just end this here. You know what, let's try to do a transition actually. So let's try to set a transition here. So let's do a transition, and let's do transition all, and let's set this up to 1 second here. See if it works here. Okay. All right, so now that we have that, and that is very important to set up a transition anyway, that is something that we want to do. So the reason why it's not working here is simple, is just because I didn't finish this before. So if I add a before, and now you can tell whenever I hover over it, we have this hover effect. And I did add this transition, if hopefully you guys saw that part of the video. So I just added a transition here, and then now whenever we hover over this, it turns into that state. Now let's say you wanted the button to have this anyway, and without hover, we'll basically just grab this filter and then paste it in here. And there we have it. Now for those of you that maybe are using Firefox and you're saying, oh, well, Uriel, it's not working right. Well, we can actually use a WebKit as well. So basically paste this right in, and then what we can do is do a double dash there and then put WebKit dash filter. And as you can tell, even if I remove this here, it should still work. So there we go. This is more for Safari and Chrome. And that's pretty much it. Now let's say you have multiple buttons and you want to just go ahead and have the CSS target various buttons, not just one, and you don't want to repaste this code for pretty much every button. I mean, that is kind of annoying, right? So what if we just set up a class for it, and we can just set that up for each button, and that is very easy. So if I were to go over here and remove this, and I did want to show you guys this because I feel like this is very important, just because you don't want to have a lot of CSS doing the same thing for various buttons. So what we can do is just set up a class here. We can set this to a simple class of my button. And then let me grab this code. Now, of course, you can change the CSS class name, whatever you would like, but I'm just going to set this to my button. All right, so now all we got to do is grab the CSS class and paste it to this button, and there we go. And I can even remove this CSS class here, it's not needed. Sorry, that CSS style, and I can just add this class to this and then do the same thing for this one, right? So various things we can do with this, and then there we go, right? So I almost forgot this part. For those of you that are using the free version, just make sure that you add your CSS class of my button, whatever class you may want to add it to, and instead of adding it to your Elementor CSS code, you can actually, like I mentioned, just make sure that you add your CSS class to this of my button, and then go ahead and create the button like we did in the video, and then go into your customizer and just paste it in here. And if we scroll down, there you have it. So it's all working perfectly. So that's how you can go about doing that. Now that's pretty much it for this video. If you guys did enjoy it and you did find it helpful, make sure to like the video for the YouTube algorithm. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing so you don't miss out on any of my videos. Now, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.